It is the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast for this week's Genesis Invitational taking place in Torrey Pines. So we are moving locations. But as always, the show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Go use code Mayo for up to $1,000 deposit bonus over there because there's all sorts of fun, amazing pick'ems, amazing things to go get over there. So Kenny, Kim, sitting on the other side of the screen, how the hell are you after a wonderful week last week at the Waste Management?
Good, man. I mean, it was good to see Detry get that win. It wasn't exciting as we would have liked. I think most people, when they got into Sunday, they figured he would sort of go down to the pack here a little bit because based on his previous performances in his past. But dude showed up like I'm fucking Tiger on that nine. Really, really impressive. Again, shout out to another sports psychiatrist working out for Thomas Detry, who did say that he's been seeing a sports psychiatrist trying to get him over that hump. You know, he's been in contention. He's been near or at the lead at the 54 holes multiple times in his career. This is his first professional win, either on the DP World Tour or on the PGA Tour. His last win was on the Challenge Tour, which is the DP World Tour's version of the Korn Ferry Tour. So it's been a while for Thomas Detry, and to do it the way he did. You thought that there was a little chance with Berger at 18 under, and then Detry at 21 under with about 7-8 holes left to play. Right? You thought there was a chance that he can go down, but birdie the last 5 holes in a row to literally slam the door on anybody out there, and it was not playing that easy. Especially towards the end of the day on Sunday. So kudos to him. Really, really impressive win for him. Who knows? I mean, we know that his swing is pretty sweet. We know that he's contended before and he has the game. Is this going to open the floodgates? We'll see. We'll see. Pretty impressive stuff by him. We had Jordan Spieth coming back after I talked shit about him last week, saying that he could be done, maybe never win again. And here's the funny thing about Spieth, okay? Most strokes gained with his irons since the 2023 Waste Management Phoenix Open. First time since last year's Waste Management Phoenix Open that he was within 12 strokes of the lead at the end of 4 rounds. So in the back of my head, I'm hoping he's back, right? His iron game looked great. He had that one hole, which was pure Spieth, on Sunday where he went driver, putter, wedge, putter for par, right? Where he hit it into the bush and he had to use his putter to hit it out of the bush, to hit a wedge and made his putt for par.
Yeah, the only time the ball was on grass was the tee box and the green.
Yeah.
It was sand and desert and putting and wedges all the way in between.
Yeah, it's always better for him to watch. I mean, the murmurs, the crowd, golf Twitter, very, very excited about it. I haven't seen the ratings yet. And I don't know, since it was a blowout, I don't know how good it will be. But I mean, we did see the ratings for the week before with Rory winning, and it was like 3 million. So I don't even really, that's what we're going to have. We have to have the Rorys, the Spieths, those guys winning.
Scotty Scheffler.
Scotty, I don't know if he brings the ratings like Rory and Spieth do, but if you got these top guys winning, that's definitely going to help. But it was pretty impressive what he did. Now, do you think that it's just the course? Because all the stats I just rolled off all happened at this course. Like his last 3 best appearances, in the last 3 years have been.
Could be both. Could be both.
Right?
I don't know how his wrist's going to handle this cabbage. Like thick-ass rough that he's going to have to heave his ball out of all the time compared to desert. That's a lot less.
He sort of jammed it the week before.
Yeah.
So it was bothering him a bit. I think either at the Annex or whatever, the Pebble or one of the ones prior to the Waste Management. But yeah, we'll see. I'm not fully on board yet, but it's good seeing him playing well.
Good to see him playing well. And just to touch on Detry, Kenny, hand up on me. I've been the guy that said he's never going to win a PGA tournament. And then I didn't play him at all in Showdown on Sunday. I figured he'd come back to the pack. No. Not only did he not come back to the pack, he had the round of the goddamn day. So, I honestly have no idea what's going on in golf anymore. I can't tell you. Thomas Detry's winning by a touchdown the same day as the Super Bowl, and then the Chiefs get blown out that day. Like, what is happening in the world? Like, in the world of sports, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. And
the Super Bowl is the only thing that saved my week. I put a 5-unit bet on the Eagles money before, because I just thought they were a better team and they're going to win, and they showed that. They whooped that ass. But when it came to the golf, I had Mav having a chance at a place, but he missed about a 5-foot birdie putt on 17 and then bogeyed 18 to take himself out of the contention. He birdied 17, pars 18. I get the each way. Not the best week there, not the best week in DraftKings. DraftKings really pissed me off because I had a lineup that I had. I tinkered, right? And that lineup was in the original $100 single entry, because that's the way I'm doing it now. Because I wanted to see, I was worried about the tinkering. So I put put the original lineup in like the $5 whatever, right? Or like the $3 20 max, right? Just to see where it would be. And it cashed easily, would have cashed in the 100, would have won like, $250 in the $100 single entry. But my tinkered lineup, which is the one I kept, did not do well at all. So bitter about that. So I'm actually going to change up some strategies when it comes to GPPs. Again, see, I'm fluctuating. I'm trying to find the new way to do GPPs. I'm sort of done with the mass multi-entering. I'm going to do single entries, larger, higher dollar amounts. We'll try and get it done that way. I'll still do my $100 single entry. Then I'll do a $33 entry, single entry, for either my tinkering lineup, or if I don't tinker, a Wednesday lineup. Because I want to make that $100 lineup my first thought. It tends to be the best.
Yeah,
for me.
Before you get brainwashed.
Before I start overthinking everything, the first lineup that I make, usually tends to be a better lineup overall, instead of having to dig deep and getting different types of answers, bringing your mind sideways and forwards and back, just trying to figure everything out. So I'm going to save the $33 lineup for that. Either I tinker, or I just make a whole new one on Wednesday when I have more information. And then I'll put the my cash lineup in the $12 single entry. So technically I'm only adding $12 to the bankroll. I'm going to put $250 in every week, $105 in cash, single entry double ups, and $145 in GPPs, the $100 single entry, the $33 single entry, and the $12 single entry. So that's how I'm going to go about it. I'm also going to change, how I go about DFS picks in our DFS portion of the show. It's going to be a little bit tighter. I'll still go over people who I think I would play if I mass multi-enter. But for the most part, it's just going to be like 1 or 2 guys per group. And I'm going to have to make those decisions when it comes down to it, probably on Monday. I've already made my first lineup. That one's going to stay in it, and cash lineup's already been made, though I'm having doubts about my 2 non-cash game cornerstones. So we'll see about that. I know you didn't have the best week either, right, Byron?
No. And I'm okay, like chatting about this. I think it's important to understand that you go through losing stretches. So making sure that you have the right bankroll during this time. When I was out in Montreal with Pat, he's like, why don't you bet more? Because you're so good at your placements and all that kind of stuff. It's for when this kind of stuff happens. Like, I've lost 25 units this year. Like, if I went to a bank, like an amount that's way too much for me to sustain, like, I need another 75 of those amounts that I can still bet. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
what's a unit for you? For me, it's $50.
For me, it's $30. So I've lost
that's a lot of money.
And I've lost a lot of money, dude.
It's almost a grand, like $750. It's not nothing to sneeze, especially since you have a new baby, you got the family. That's a super important part of gambling. Yeah, like none of us are professionals, right? We're doing this for fun. There's no point in over betting. Like, unless you're like a professional and do this for a living. I mean, we're doing this for fun. You got to make sure you bet what you can lose.
Absolutely. Yes. And lose for a while. I know this sounds bad to say, but you got to be able to sustain stretches like this, because if you don't have enough in your bank account to continue betting the same amount, if you have a good upswing and you're betting half the amount because you've wasted all your money, that's where the shit hits the fan. And that's when things get
That's
bad,
when you start winning.
That's when you start winning, is when you start decreasing, So I'm going to start decreasing my units now, but I'll still be playing the same amount. And this is the first podcast, Kenny, I think ever in my life that I'm facing west. As you can tell, new background here, whatever. Flag still over here.
Got to switch it up sometimes.
Shitting up, baby.
Got to switch it up.
Not facing south anymore. We're facing the west, where the
it's just like when you're on a slump. When you're on a slump, you got to find that slump buster with the girls, right? You got to find that, four that you could take home. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, hitting that four gets you rebound and gives you that confidence
to go after a six,
to go to the six, go to an 8, right? I mean, sometimes you need to switch shit up. Do shit that you normally wouldn't do. Fuck a fat bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that, right? So stuff that you normally wouldn't do to switch up your mojo to try and get shit back in your direction. I understand that completely.
Amen. And it hasn't been like they've been terrible bets. It's been missing by like 1 or 2 strokes here. 1 or 2. Like it's just been some really bad, shitty variants.
I saw your tweet earlier today. It just seemed like it was bad beat after bad beat.
I mean, I had Scotty.
He lost.
I had Scotty for 1.5 units invested. He loses the 1 unit, so that's a 2.5 unit swing for the top 5. He shot 5 over on the back 9.
I don't know what's happening.
What on earth? After being third.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. Sungjae shot one of the worst rounds of the day for a top 20. It is what it is. I'm not too concerned. You're just going to keep going. Make sure that you have enough bankroll. It's a good lesson for people out there. And, I don't mind being transparent about that kind of shit. So, Kenny, what else? Who else surprised you?
So last week, of course, it was like the wasted Phoenix management Phoenix Open, right? And so, of course, Byron starts off the show. Well, let me tell you, I'll start from the beginning. All right. So before the show, I like to, take a shower, get all pretty, for the 8% of women that listen to our show. Shout out Joanna, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Shout out, right? To our girl. I try and look sharp, try and get, fresh. And it's sort of a mental thing too, just to wash the stink off of work. Right? Just to try and just get that fucking out of my mind so I can just go and focus and have fun on golf. And so, I took my shower, right? And after I took the shower, this is about 30 minutes, 45 minutes before we start the show. I'm hearing something from the pipes, like this vibrating sound from the pipes. I'm like, what is going on? What is this noise? I was like, okay, well, I don't have any time to really look at it now. Because I was getting ready for the pod. And so, I get ready for the pod. I still hear it like behind me because my bathroom is directly behind me. Actually, it's a utility room behind me and then the bathroom behind there, but I could still hear it. And so we start the show off and I will let you know, like for the regular season of golf, I try not to get like super messed up, like on the show, like in the fall. If you go back and watch some of the fall shows, okay? All right. In the fall, I don't care. All right. We're not that many people are watching. We get about 1/3 of our audience in the fall. 2/3 drop out because it's football season, and we get that. And so during that time of the year, I tend to, and I might eat. I don't mind being retarded on the show. And so I'm trying not to do that during the regular season. We have a lot more people listening to get like good information, right? I mean, so I try not to do it. But I mean, of course, Byron, without any, prior talk with me, the first 10 minutes of the show, Byron last week shotguns like 4 beers, right? He's like, it's the wasted Management Open, all right? And so of course I'm like, well, I can't be like a bitch, right? I can't be a bitch. So I ended up, I was like, I was hyped. Like Byron's shotgunning those beers. And so I don't drink as much as I used to. I have some liquor in the house, but not much. And so I was like, all right, I'll eat my edible. But instead of like, what I'll eat double. So if you could tell by the end of last week's show, I could barely.
We were vibing.
I'm Asian. I'm Asian. I have slanty eyes, and they were really slantier than they should have been. By the time the show ended. Well, I go through the show. I'm super stoned by the end of the show, like really, really stoned. And then I I decide to and go back to the bathroom, and it's still making that noise. The pipes are still making that noise. So I'm worried now. All right. So I go into the utility room behind me. I'm trying to get a feel of the pipes to see if there's vibrations, see if there's leaks or anything. The only pipe that I can't, well, first off, when I step in there, I accidentally step on a fucking mouse trap and it snaps on my toe. Luckily, I'm wearing these house slippers and the rubber stopped it. It didn't mess me up, but I forgot that I had the pest control come out here. We had this little, sometimes I get these little mice that come in here. So I bring the pest control in here about, 3 times a year to just lay traps and, poison and stuff for the mouse. And this mouse never dies, first off, but that's another story. Anyway, so I step there, light goes off, and I'm like, what the fuck? I get that off. Luckily, the rubber on my house stipplers stop it from like really fucking me up. And then I get there, I start feeling all the pipes, and nothing feels off. There's only one pipe that I can't reach, like behind my water heater, and like I can't get there to like grab it and feel it. And that's actually the pipe that goes outside for my spigots outside. And of course, you have to turn those off in the winter, so you don't freeze your pipes. And so I checked the handle, and it was closed, but it wasn't like flat like this, like it should have been. It was like this when it closed. All right. So now I'm freaking out a little bit. Like, all right, okay. The noise is still happening. It doesn't seem like any of the pipes are like a problem. That are like in the interior of the house. It looks like the only one that could be is the one that goes outside. And if that thing bursts, that's a huge problem. That's a lot of money. And so I'm thinking of this all in my head. I call my uncle. He's a construction guy. See, I'm an office construction guy. I don't know shit really about how to fix anything. So I call my uncle, and he's speaking Korean to me, and my Korean's not that great. Right, anymore. I don't speak it as much as I used to. And he's saying like all this crazy shit, just stressing me the fuck out. Right. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to cost me so much fucking money, blah, blah, blah. I'm like super worried. And so I'm still back there trying to figure out what's wrong. I go back into my bathroom. This is about probably now 8:00. So I took the shower probably around 5:15. So it's been, 3 hours just about. And the noise is still going. When I actually step in my shower and the noise is really, really loud in the shower, I'm like, why is it so loud like in the shower? It should be loud like in the pipes or something, or in the wall. Like I don't hear it very loudly in the utility room, but I hear it very loudly in the shower. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I realized, I look to my right and I have this little holder for my toothbrush, and I brush my teeth. I brush my teeth in the shower. And I have a little holder, and it's one of those, electrical vibrating toothbrushes. And you see where I'm getting at this. And so I realized that is what has been making the noise for the last 3.5 hours. Like I could not figure it out. It's so I was freaking out. Being stoned and high as a kite didn't fucking help. But really, the problem was that my damn fucking toothbrush was vibrating, and that was what was making the noise, right? And here's the thing, like it would have been something that I would have thought of, but like I just bought new vibrating toothbrushes because this one had been non-vibrating for the last week. So every time I try and turn it on in the morning, there's no vibration, and it's been doing it for a week. I finally went on Amazon, bought a new one that vibrates, but I hadn't switched it out yet. So like I was thinking the whole time I actually thought about that in the beginning, but I was like, it can't be because it hasn't been vibrating the whole time. Yet for somehow, some way, like someone's fucking with me, like the stoner gods are fucking with me or something, because that battery, that vibrating toothbrush vibrated for 4 hours straight after a week of not working at all. And so that was what caused the problem. So I felt like a fucking idiot. I mean, I was about to call my boss. Like, he's good at that stuff. He was going to come over, look at this shit. Like, it would have been fucking embarrassing. Not embarrassing enough to not tell you guys. But yeah, so that's how that story ended on Sunday. Literally, like, I felt like a fucking moron. But thank God I don't have to fucking fix my pipe, because that shit would have sucked. Any other golf
still
related
working now? Is it working now? Still? That
Oh, the
toothbrush?
toothbrush? No, I switched it out for the new one. No, so I tried, the next couple of days, and it still didn't turn on once I turned it off. So it was so weird that it stayed on for 4 hours
That's a
straight.
long time.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was horrible. It was funny. Like if people were here and actually saw it, it would have been like the most hilarious thing ever. I don't know how well it came
music,
across.
Kenny. Like
Yeah,
you just trying to figure this out in your part, like Benny Hill music.
I mean, first thing I get snapped by a goddamn mouse trap, almost fall off the fucking ladder, looking through the pipes. It was a shit show. And of course, like I could barely see because my eyes were like closed shut from the amount of edibles that I had taken at that point in time. So yeah, luckily no pipes burst. We're good to go. Any other golf stuff that we want to talk about? I mean, what's the old man? The Spanish guy who smokes cigars. He won again.
Angel in Morocco.
Angel won.
The mechanic.
Pretty big news from the U.S. Open and the R&A saying they're going to have spots for LIV. I think one of the coolest things is the international series in Macau, which every LIV golfer is allowed to play. The top 3 that aren't qualified in that event get to go to the Open Championship. That could be must-watch TV. I know a lot of people talk shit about LIV not playing for anything, right? Except for the money. This is going to be like the first real event where you're going to see a lot of LIV guys playing, and it's going to mean something. It's going to mean something to these guys. So I'm really looking forward to watching that at, I don't know, 3:30 in the morning. At some point in time,
sure, you're gonna be watching that
at the end, or at least record it or something. Of course, we did have the LIV event with the night golf. Not many people were watching that, but it's good that it's on regular TV. You had Adam Scott, Jay Monahan go play with Trump. Trump say that he's going to try and work shit out with this. I mean, we sort of knew that was going to be a possibility when Trump was elected, since he is such a big golf fan, and he has relationships with the guys over at PIF. So maybe something can happen there. I mean, he's definitely doing a lot of shit. There's no fucking doubt about that. And maybe this is something he can add to his list. Whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing that he's doing, it doesn't really matter. For golf, I'm hoping this is a good thing. That he's going to do. And you saw Tiger play with Trump, I think this morning or yesterday morning on Sunday. Of course, Tiger was supposed to play at his Genesis, but he couldn't get over the mom, losing his mom, which I completely understand. It's got to be one of the toughest things to lose your mother. And to come back just like a week and a half, 2 weeks after, that would be a tough thing. When he said he was playing, the narrative I was going to take is this could be his chance, right? Playing for his mom, right? I mean, Tiger's life has been sort of like a movie already, right? I mean, with his win, with his latest Masters win, with the win at the Tour Championship with everyone following him, like his last few wins have been like movie-esque, right? Like shit that you normally wouldn't think that was going to happen. It ended up happening. That's what I was hoping was something to go with and to, give a little nod. Maybe if I did play MME, throw him in a couple of lineups, but I can understand why he missed the event because losing your mom is just got to be a horrible thing. If you haven't talked to your mother or your father in a while, give them a call. You never really know because you saw her like a week before, fine, rooting for TGL. And then someone, of course, said that at least she died seeing him win one more time, which that's cool. That's when I immediately called my mom. Right when I heard that, I was like, Jesus. But I can understand that. Any other topics that you want to go over before we move on?
My boy Drickus, defending champ of the UFC again, baby. Let's go. That guy is such a goddamn savage, man.
He's won like 9 in a row, right?
Yeah, he's on a 9-win streak or an 8, like some massively long streak. He's defended his title now twice, and he's taking names. He's going to clear out the division, and then he's going up, baby. He's going to go take down the big boys, and he is so dangerous.
He called out Pereira. He called out Pereira right to his face, dude. I was like, oh my
I'm not an MMA guy anymore. Yeah. But I figure he's got to be a big deal in your country, right?
Massive deal. I'd imagine, okay. I mean, he's a big deal to me, and I've kind of lost touch of all my stuff back there. So it's something that's unique because we haven't had anyone really good in that sport ever. And the best part is he's not like a boring guy that's going to win decisions all the time. He breaks people's nose. He literally broke this guy's nose and made him carry on fighting for the next 2 rounds. So he knocks people out. He chokes people out. It's awesome. I know MMA is not for a lot of people, but he is super exciting to watch. I think he's
pretty great. Strickland did not. I watched the whole fight, and he looked pretty great. But Strickland is just, he was playing his stupid defense, and it didn't work out. But Dreykus really throws bombs.
Hey, you got to strike first,
huge, dude.
Strike first, no mercy.
He's like Jordan Spieth in the ring. If you haven't watched Dreykus, he's just a way more violent Jordan Spieth, and anything goes. Absolutely anything goes. So he beat this guy by his own game, which I was very impressed with as well. So, there'll be better opponents where we'll see some fireworks and knockouts again. So looking forward to that. Going to be a lot of fun watching UFC.
One last little stat from Justin Ray before we get into this week. So Detry was like it's been the 4th consecutive year that there's been a golfer that wins by 6 or more strokes in an event. Can you name one of the other 3?
Ooh, by 6?
6 or more.
Did Bryson win by 6? That was Matthew Wolff behind him. Scotty's won by 6. No?
2022, Ryan Brem. I don't even know what tournaments these are.
Somewhere on the alternate fields. Yeah.
2023, Lee Hodges.
At the CJ Cup.
2024, Chris Gotterup.
Alternate event.
And then 2025, Thomas Dietrich.
Alternate
so those
event.
are the 4 guys that have won by 5, by 6 or more. Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that a wild list?
That's a wild list, dude.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of good golf on that list, to be honest with you, outside of
Lee Hodges is playing okay.
Lee Hodges, Kenny. We'll get to Lee Hodges. I've got some interesting stats for most improved, strokes gain and things we'll get to a little bit later, and he's on that list for short game for sure. But until we get there, let's pay some bills.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. I personally like the Pick'em games. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. Can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a Pick'em entry. Can also make rivals picks, which pits 2 players against each other. Now, the reason I like the Pick'em games is because of these things called scorchers. There's these little chili peppers next to the golfers' names, and if you click on that, it adds to your multiplier, so you can win even more money. Sign up today with promo code Mayo and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant Pick'em special. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
All right, so we're back. Let's talk about our YouTube comment winner. Of course, you guys should know by now. Go to our YouTube page every week. Go into the comment section. Pick who you think is going to win. Also, make sure you leave a way to get in touch with you. Because if you are correct, if you're the first person correct with the winner, Byron will be sending you a free month of his Discord and his Patreon. You get all his cool stuff over there, his models, all his information. He's putting out round by round info every day for Showdown. It's really, really cool. Make sure you go check out his Patreon, even if you don't win. But, always put down a way to contact you. Last week, we did have somebody who picked Detry. It was Brian Gile 6967. I think I've seen him comment before, so it should be pretty easy to get in touch with him. But Brian, make sure you get in contact with us so we can get you a way to get into Byron's Patreon. A couple of things that we forgot to talk about earlier. Tom Kim versus Sahith.
Oh, fuck.
The back. Now, Tom didn't finish as good as I'd like him to. But he still did whoop Sahith's ass. Like I said, what happened?
Whoop his ass. Can he beat him?
By 4 strokes. That's not close.
Can he finish 44th? Like, you can't say he was whooping anything. Like,
oh well, still he whooped Sahith by 4 strokes. That's facts. That's facts. 100% facts. Just like I said was going to happen. Now, we should have had some other type of bet. You still owe me the butterfish bet. We'll figure this out. But I just want
Someone
to let
said I need
everyone
to
know.
do what you did with edibles.
That
before
would have
show.
been, that would be hilarious, because if
There's
you
a-
ate 200, if you ate 200 milligrams of edibles in a show and I took I shotgun 4 beers, I barely have a buzz and you'd be dead.
I would be dead.
Yeah. So maybe we do that. I think it would be
This
fun
is
to watch.
show 403, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
So in 17 shows time, we can pay that bet off.
There you go. Show 420. That sounds.
I will
sounds
be
all right.
willing
I don't know. Is
to.
it legal in Iowa?
There's hemp-derived product in Iowa, but I have to buy them in 10 milligram pouches because Kim Reynolds is a garbage whatever. And now they've decreased the sizes that you can buy. So it's like going to a freaking Halloween store. You're just grabbing as many different packages as you can of all these gummies. But
It's actually
I
like that
can
in
manage.
Canada too. It's all
Yeah, when
limited
we-
to 10
when I went to
milligrams.
Mont-
Yeah.
When I went to Montreal, it was all 10 milligrams. Now,
So dumb.
where I
It is-
live,
it
they
is
don't give
really
a
dumb.
fuck.
Yeah.
Where I live, they don't get the crazy thing is the evolution of like buying pot from when I was a kid, driving into DC, Peace Street, going cruising the streets, looking for like a 12-year-old kid that always sells like the biggest bag of shake that you can get, hoping that we don't get pulled over. Definitely got pulled over a couple of times, and the cops just be like, don't ever come back. And then getting your weed that way to just getting it delivered to your home from like a reputable business. It's just for like a $30 delivery fee. Right? You get like a receipt. Like I still am a little paranoid about it because I don't want my neighbors to know. I'm sure they know because they got some guy driving like a Ford Escort delivering it with like 10 gauge earrings that have like the holes in them and shit like that, right? With like the long hair and like a tie-dye shirt. And you're like, oh, I wonder what Kenny's getting right now. Not shocking. But anyway, I try and keep it as like low key as possible anyways. So like I give them the money, I grab the bag, and the bag has the receipt stapled to it. So I always look through the receipt like I'm looking through like groceries or something, like when I walk into my house. But it's 100% legal. It's so weird. The evolution of marijuana, being sold in the United States has been crazy in our lifetimes. But yeah. All right. So we'll figure something out. For that, maybe you can win the bet back. If you feel strongly about something, I will let you make a bet.
double or nothing.
At some point,
Yeah.
it needs to be cashed, though. Like, the bet needs to happen.
I settle my debts. I'm a Lannister Lindeque, so it'll happen at some point. There's the terms and conditions are they're complicated. Okay, with the butterfish situation, but the 420
I'm
show.
gonna find a way to just fly it out to you, have your wife just cook it up. I think that's what we're gonna have to do, but I'll figure this out. We'll figure it out. But let's move on to this week.
Yes.
Let's talk about the course. Of course, we're heading back to Torrey Pines. This is going to be like a 70 to 80 man field, no cuts, signature event, right? We don't have to deal with the North course this time. We're just going South course, like we saw a couple of weeks ago. Now, first off, let's talk about possible changes from what we saw 3 weeks ago to this week. The first thing I'm hearing is what we saw when they played Torrey last time. It was dry, lots of bounce, lots of first hop, on the greens, right? It was bone dry. What we're looking at now is rain Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. Couple of days of pretty solid rain, Wednesday and Thursday. So the course could play softer. It could play longer. I think it gives a little bit more nod to guys who can hit it farther off the tee. But again, like we saw, and I'm about to go over some numbers, you don't have to be long. It's not like Harris English is out there bombing drive, right? It's not like, Novak is out there bombing drives. These guys just give it a poke out there, hit a lot of fairways, and are able to do their thing as well. So there's multiple ways to go about this off the tee, but I think there could be just a little bit more of a nudge to guys who hit it a little bit longer if this rain forecast is correct. And we're also supposed to see 20-mile-per-hour gusts on Thursday and Friday. And but there's no North Course this time. So a little bit different there. Like guys who did not play that North Course very well, missed the cut. Because the people who played the North Course on the first day had such a huge advantage. Some guys come to mind, Finau, right? Finau out there shot 72 on the South Course and then blew up on the North Course on the bad day. Looking back at the event 3 weeks ago, just keep that in mind. When you're looking at the course history and stuff like that. But let's actually get to the course. South Course of Torrey, 7,800-yard behemoth, right? Par 72, 4 par 5s, 4 par 3s. The par 5s are long, from 560 to 600 plus. I think the average is like 590. So you got to be long to be able to get to reach these in two. Of course, one of the hardest courses on tour. Off the tee, golfers are going to see narrow tree line fairways, plenty of bunkers to dodge. And once again, what rain can also do, when it comes to it, is it can make that rough a little bit thicker. You sort of get that wiry type of rough here when you haven't had that much rain. And it makes a really big difference. If you get that rain, that grass and the rough can become a lot more lush. They can actually keep it the same height, but the thickness of it can vary. And if it does rain, and the sun comes out, let's say Thursday, Friday morning, and that grows and it's still moist, that can make that grass a bit thicker. So that could make it just a touch more difficult this week. But I mean, the winning score was still -8 last time around a few weeks ago. Now, off the tee, golfers are going to see narrow tree line fairways, plenty of bunkers. Only around 50% of fairways are hit on this course year in and year out. The rough around the fairways is brutal, and it can be, even more brutal than what we saw last time, depending how thick it's grown in. Expect it's Kikuyu rough, minimum 2.5 inches. It could be more since this is a signature event. We'll have to see as the week goes on what we hear from guys on course, stuff like that, about the thickness of the rough. Last year, the rough was, around 3.5 inches. This past year was a little bit less thick. There was a little bit more rain last year, of course, and it was only about 2.5 inches tall. But I think we see a little bit more thicker, a little bit taller than we saw a few weeks ago. A lot of the holes here at the South Course have a slight dogleg. Right-handed golfers that play cut tend to have been known to thrive here. Fairways, again, don't necessarily have to be hit to succeed. Leishman won here years ago, almost dead last in driving accuracy. I think 4 years ago, 3 golfers in the top 20 in driving accuracy finished top 10. 3 golfers in the top 20 in driving distance finished top 10. So you see examples of shorter guys really doing well on this course. I would not eliminate shorter hitters, even though you see that 7,800-yard marker. If they're short, they just got to be good with their long irons, and they got to be really good around the green. That's what we're going to have to see from the shorter guys. Now, the tournament more than likely won't be won off the tee, but rather on approach shots. Another stat that I saw, I think the winner of this event, the most the winner has gained off the tee in the last 6 years is 0.2 strokes. I think 5 of the last 6 years, the winner has had negative strokes off the tee. But the one thing you can see here is that the winner has had almost, I think, 1.8 or more strokes positive in putting. Again, it's hard to judge putters in an event like this, but I'm just telling you this to show you that off the tee is not as important as you would think on this course. Now, on approach shots, golfers are going to see average to small size greens that are usually narrow in width and lengthy from front to back. High green and regulation numbers usually leads to success here. The putting surface is multi-tiered with a small bit of undulation. These greens are protected very well with large bunkers and thick rough around them. Most of the bunkers guard the front of the greens, which makes approach shots, especially makes approach shots tough, especially since a lot of the bunkers guard the front and a lot of the greens slope from back to front. Now, even though a lot of the greens are a lot of the bunkers are in front of the greens, most holes have an opening in front of the greens. So golfers will have a chance to run up their approaches if they hit it in the rough off the tee. Now, this is all weather dependent. Depends how soft it's going to be. We saw a lot of that a few weeks ago. I don't know how much of that we'll be able to see this week. It just depends on how much rain and how soft the conditions get. When the pin location is near the front of the green, expect a lot of long approaches with fast putts coming down the slope for birdie and par. The greens are POA, usually around 13 on the stimp. You're going to see a lot of long iron play here. 200 yards plus, 175 to 200, 200 plus is like 40, 45% of all the iron shots you're going to see. So for me, guys who can play the long irons well, who are good around the greens. Those are the main two focuses. I'm going course history here is probably like 11th stickiest on tour overall. So it's still pretty sticky. It's something to keep an eye on. What are you looking for in golfers?
Yeah, I was taking a look at some driving accuracy and driving distance ranks for last time they played here, Kenny, like 2 or 3 weeks ago for the Farmers. And there's only 5 guys that are inside the top 22 in distance that were part of the T9 squad, which is 14 dudes. So only 5 or 14 guys were inside the top 22 in distance. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 were in the top 22 in driving accuracy.
And again, another thing you got to remember, though, about that event, if you look at the field, it wasn't that great. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're looking at numbers from that week. I wouldn't overindulge on guys who did exceptionally well that week, especially if they're not and there weren't any elite golfers even sniffing close to the top of the leaderboard that week. So just be mindful of that because that strength of field is pretty weak.
Pretty weak, which is interesting, Kenny. The fact that there's not a lot of good guys in there means that the guys that are playing in the tournament, it's up to them in order to play well. And with all that wind, you never know what's going to happen. So for the most part, most of my bets are going to be, I'm going to hang tight a little while with the betting side of things to kind of really figure out where the wind's going before we get into it. It's going to be important to make sure that you're keeping attention to that. And then I tweeted out earlier that Tony Finau is the best bet that you could have made at this tournament since 2020. He's finished top 10, 4 out of his last 6 times. But his odds this week at a course that he's got incredible course history are the highest they've ever been.
Yeah. I looked at him hard.
So his odds are higher, but it's not because he's playing badly. It's because the field is that much
again, we
tougher.
talked about his miscut the last time out here, and a lot of that had to do with, bad wave, like a course wave. He played that North course when it was averaging 75. Right. If it was switched, I think, he probably would have made the cut. So just remember that. And I think he's definitely a viable option. I definitely thought of him this week.
Yeah. So I think we'll be getting into that for the Kickback Golf segment. Kenny, I'm going to let you do the kickback intro here while I twirl like a beautiful blonde for you.
All right. So make sure you go to kickbackgolf.com, use promo code FGD15. You can get some cool stuff right now. Byron is doing the mod. I don't know why he's taking his clothes off. You need to keep the clothes on to promote the clothes. But it is a nice little Augusta National baseball jersey that he's rocking. Who's on the back? Who's the name?
Scheffler.
Scheffler. So a nice little Scheffler baseball jersey with the Augusta colors. Don't show anyone who's a member of Augusta Country Club because they will probably sue Kickback Golf. So don't tell anyone about that. But he's got some cool stuff there. They got the basketball jerseys from different golfers' alma maters, different golfers' country. Make sure you go use promo code FGD15. Go to kickbackgolf.com. Get yourself some cool gear. All right, so let's get to this betting segment. Byron, why don't you go and start with your outrights?
I will do that, Kenny. And speaking of promo codes, FGD, I think gets you 20% off the first purchase on my Patreon. I've got a promo code for the people now, and the link's in the description for y'all. My first outright and my only outright, Kenny, a man who's cooking with gas right now, a man who's got tons of distance, a man that's got really good course history here. Rory McIlroy.
You beat me.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to be going with him. I found a 750 out there, and I took it with 5 places, which is the best top 5 bet you can make out there in the market as well. So I've got a top 5, which I would have bet on him anyway if I never bet him outright. Great course history, yeah, Kenny. Great form. And for the first time in a while when I modeled him, not just having rankings, you use the ratings as well, the actual number that makes up the ranking. And Rory is a lot closer to Scotty than the third person in my model. So he's cruising and he's playing some good golf, and we're getting a very palatable number, a 7.5, 7-1 for Rory is nice. So I know that you'll be chatting about him too. So go ahead.
7 top 4s in his last 8 events played, including 2 wins and like 3 runner-ups. Yeah. Right. Like I said, we talked about him when he won his event. He did the thing where he switched his swing up during the offseason, hit into a blank screen, his driver into a blank screen over and over again, didn't even step foot on a golf course for 3 weeks. Just hit his driver into that blank screen, and it seems like it's working. The way he's hitting his driver, how long he's hitting it, how much control he has, how accurate he's been. If he can do this here, and be hitting 350-yard drives in the fairway more than anyone else, leading to, wedges and 9-irons where other guys are in the rough hitting 7-iron, 6-iron. It's going to be such a huge advantage for him. The guy is playing exceptional golf. 4th win in his last 3 events played. He was 7th here at the U.S. Open in 2021. He did most of his damage with the ball striking. So yeah, I got him at same price. I'm doing win only, 7.5 to 1. Now, I had other options. I will go over those as well. If I was not going to bet Rory, I was going to pepper that 40 to 60 range. I was going to pepper Bobby
Before
Mack.
you get there, Kenny, I just want to top off some Rory stats here. 4 times in the last while since 2019, he's played at Torrey. 5th, 3rd, 16th, and then you said the 7th at the US Open.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just insane. That floor is just incredible for him there. And I think his drive is even better than it's hardly ever been.
So I bet Rory McIlroy once last year, and that was a Quail Hop. 9 to 1, and he won. So I'm going to bet Rory. Hopefully we can have that. And I don't rarely bet anyone single digits odds. It rarely happens. But I just, it's all signs point to Rory.
Obvious.
That's just the way it's going to go. But if you don't want to make that move and you want to, I had my next, let's just go to my next pick. My next pick is going to be Pendrith, 25 to 1 with 8 places. I didn't get the best number. But I used Bet365 because I should shop numbers, but I'm not a pro. I bet for the amount that I want to win, and that's just the way it goes, right? And I like the each way, and this is the only book that gives me each way places. So I'm going to go Pendrith each way, 8 places, 25 to 1. I think 7 of his last 8 events, he's top 20. The guy plays well. He likes to go on nice little runs. He had back-to-back top 10s coming into this event. I think at the end of last year and going into the fall, he had 3 straight top 11s. I think the middle of last season, he had 3 straight top 15s. Last fall, I think he had 3 straight top 12s. So he sort of gets a lot of his good finishes in bunches, right? And it feels to me like he can get this done here. He's top 10 in my model. Back-to-back top 10s at this event also, right? You look at him, the iron game is strong. Tee to green has been very, very good. His 200 plus, he's solid off the tee. He's wonderful. Par 5s, he's exceptionally strong. So I'm going to go ahead and do that 25 to 1 with 8 places. Now, could he possibly be the better fish bet? Because he's going to be popular. I have a feeling he's going to be very popular. Upwards of 20% this week. It could be, it's not like he's a Scheffler or a Rory or a Kawa or something like that. You know, he's not that consistent. Yeah, he's been getting a lot more consistent. But if he's like 20% owned, and we're getting on a DFX track here, but if he's like 20% owned, 22% owned, top 5 highest percent owned in the field, could be worth a little bit of a fade. And I have some pivots when we get to that section. But when it comes to a bet, I'm going to go ahead and jump on. Hopefully we get a community win because a lot of people are on. Now, if I didn't bet Rory, I would have probably gone Finau 35-1. We've already spoken a little bit about him. I like Russell Henley a lot this week in the same vein as Harris English. A guy who can hit a lot of fairways and who can hit a lot of greens. I think he was in the final group here at the U.S. Open, or in the final 2 or 3 groups at the U.S. Open in 2021. He plays difficult courses harder. His major record has been really, really strong since that U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. I really like him. You can get him around 40-1 with 8 places. I don't think that's a horrible bet. I like that bet also. Other guys like in that range that I'm thinking of: Finau, Henley, Bobby Mack. Another guy who I think could play these tough courses. Well, I saw 55-1 on Hovland, right? And he's going to be one of my DFS plays this week. You know, the last time we saw him, his ball striking was very, very good. He lost a lot of strokes around the greens. And I'm hoping, he could just be average there. If he's average there and strikes the ball, I think he's got a chance. Those are just some guys like Wyndham Clark. Again, another guy you could find 60-80-1 here, who predominantly hits it left to right, has that natural cut, perfect for this event, can bomb it out there. But my next pick, who's going to be here, is 75-1, 8 places, Gary Woodland. I've been speaking about Gary Woodland. I know you talked about him last week. You said you didn't like him that much. He hadn't been playing TPC Scottsdale very well lately, right? But he showed a lot, finishing in the top 25. Pretty good weekend finish. He's had 4 or 5 straight top 25s on tour. He could putt on Pella. We've seen it at the U.S. Open at Pebble. I think, he's going to be in contention at some point in time. 75-1 with 8 places. I'm going to go with him. And my final guy, this is just a flyer. He was the second highest odds on the board, and he finished top 10 last week. So I'm just going to go Adam Hadwin, 190-1, 8 places. The guy played exceptional golf last week. Let's see if he can run hot and do it in back-to-back weeks for a minuscule bet to win a lot of money, right? So I'll take that risk. That's probably going to be the card. It's going to be Rory, 7.5-1, just win only. Pendrith, 25-1, 8 places. Woodland, 75-1, 8 places. And Hadwin, 190-1, 8 places. But like I said, there were some other bets that really caught my eye in the middle, but it was either go with those 3 and give up on Rory, or go Rory. And I think Rory wins. So I just went ahead and went with Rory.
That makes yeah, it's weird. It's going to be one of these weeks where I think you can potentially,
because let's think about it. Let's think about it. Henley, Finau, and
Hadwin.
Who was my no, it was Henley, Finau,
Bobby
and
Mack.
Hovland, and Bobby Mack. Like those 4 guys. I also like Minwoo. But like, even if you put like those 5 guys, right? Those 4 guys, is there win equity more than Rory by himself? Probably not. Like, I'm not a math guy, right?
Well,
I'm not a math guy.
Victor has got serious win equity, but right now,
Yeah, but he hasn't won in a while. Finau hasn't won in forever. Minwoo hasn't won ever. Bobby Mack is the one that's won.
Yeah.
you know? So, I mean, I don't know. So that's sort of why I went with Rory.
Hey, I love it. I think it's valid and it makes tons of sense, Kenny. It almost feels too obvious. And I wish they priced him out of our range in a way, so we had to go somewhere else. But I love the number.
I think it's a problem in DFS, because his numbers are way too cheap.
Yeah,
in DFS.
Yeah,
But
especially with Scotty going. We can chat about that in a little bit, but
let's go with your placement bets.
Yeah, before we get there, I wanted to chat on some guys that have shown some strokes gained improvements this year, because we're 6 weeks in, 6 tournaments in, and it's after a long break. And I think something that's really I've struggled with the betting, this is why I did this, is guys that were playing shit last year are not playing shit anymore. And guys who were playing well last year, all of a sudden are not doing that now after the returning to the regular season after about 2 months off. So some guys that have really improved strokes gained total, the top 5 guys: Cam Davis, Sepp Straka, Gary Woodland, Thomas Dietrich, and Colin Morikawa. So obviously 2 of those include wins, the other 3 not so much. Woodland's still gaining the least out of all 5 of those guys, but it's improved a lot. He's lost 0.3 strokes total last year, Kenny. He's 1.2 on average now. Good stuff from Gary. Off the tee, improvements: Taylor Pendrith, Michael Kim, Gary Woodland, Max Homa. Max Homa has improved the 4th most off the tee compared to 2024 stats for him this year. Yet his game has completely fallen off a cliff. So obviously there's something to do with the mechanics of the driver that are probably either he's spending too much time on the driver and not enough time on the rest of his game, or the mechanics of what he's working on with the driver hasn't
fucking everything out,
or it's fucking
everything out. Yeah, I mean, it was funny because like I posted a tweet last week saying Max Homa's not very good at golf anymore, and like I got like 500 likes. A lot of people agree with me, I guess. The guy's not playing well. I don't really know what's going on, but that is a sign of life,
Absolutely.
And I spoke about this before. Patrick Harrington made a really good comment a few years ago where he says that like most elite golfers have a 2 to 4 year window where they're going to get the majority of their wins. It looks like that this window's closing for Max, but at least there's some type of something to look up to.
A light at the end of the tunnel, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because he has not been playing well.
No, he's not. But like we said, promising given his state of his game. And then Thomas Dietrich, the 5th most improved off the tee. The guy's game is just nuke city. So that's impressive over there. Some approach numbers compared to 2024, guys that are killing it on approach this year, the top 5 best improvers: Jason Day, Jordan Spieth. Colin Morikawa has now improved from gaining half a stroke to 1.25 strokes.
He's getting closer to his baseline.
Yes, he's now returning back to the goods.
That's a worrisome if you're another golfer on tour, because the thing about it is last year was his best year putting and chipping, right? Yep. The reason why he didn't win was because his iron game and it took a little bit of a dive. If it's back and he can putt and chip like he did last year, he could come in and like this week would be a week. I mean, the guy gains 1 stroke on the field every round.
Yeah.
In his career playing at Torrey Pines.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible. So looking good for Colin. Sepp Straka, Nick Taylor also gaining almost a stroke per round right now with the irons. So he's obviously a very streaky putter, as you know. I'm not going to chat about the other stuff around the greens, and putting. It's very streaky. But I do want to note Shane Lowry is 2nd in putting improvements. He's gaining close to a stroke per round.
Well, he went crazy.
A
couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
And then Lee Hodges, Kenny, your boy, he has improved by 1.2 strokes putting. Like he's gone from losing 0.3 to gaining 0.9. It's been like a 1.3, 1.2 stroke swing for Lee Hodges, who's just out of nowhere becoming incredible. Like he's gone full Colin Morikawa. Used to be the ball striker guy. Now he's just really good with the chipping and putting. So I have a cheat sheet for all of the stuff that's part of the Patreon that you've mentioned already. But I want to also dive into some placements now, like we mentioned, Obia. And I'm going to not tell you that I've bet these, but these are bets that I'm definitely eyeing out, weather depending. Kind of saving my tail here a little bit, but this is, tough times. I got to make sure that this week goes well. So Rory, top 5. If you haven't bet him, I would play him at a top 5 at plus 170. Like that's That's just an absolute smash in my opinion. Plus 150, very much a go. If you're looking for Rory McIlroy shares, if you're looking for another top 5 situation, I've always wondered about Patrick Cantley here, Kenny, and you can get in on a Patrick Cantley top 5 at 6-1, plus 600. If you think about the comps, you've got Bay Hill, you've got Murfield Vintage. Would you say Murfield's a very similar comp on a ball striking perspective?
Yeah, except without the rough, but yeah.
Murfield's got thick rough too, so
yeah, but the fairways are so wide.
Right. But it's a long golf course, difficult golf course, similar rough chipping around the greens, all that jazz. Russell Henley, top 10 bet at plus 350, showing a lot of promise. I think he's sneaky inside the top 10s, Kenny. He makes a lot more top 10s than people realize, and he doesn't play a lot of golf. Now, he's picking and choosing his schedule nowadays, so very interesting to see the US Open finish you mentioned earlier, his only appearance at the Farmers since 2019. Another name that is very enticing is Ludwig. You can go the top 5 route at plus 450, or if you feel like going top 20, you go minus 125.
Ludwig's going to win this event at some point in his career if he plays it, because of course the Farmers isn't really, I don't know if they're going to switch it up and make it a signature event, but if he plays this event, for the Farmers, he's going to win that event at some point in time in his career.
Yeah. So what do you think you'd lean towards, Kenny? Do you think you take a little less risk going top 5 at plus 450, or would you go to a minus 125 top 20, which is rattling off at a 60% clip?
I'd probably do the 125. We still don't. I mean, it took him a couple of weeks to get over a flu. We don't know how he's recovering. I would expect him to be fine, but we expected him to be fine last time and he wasn't. So I don't know. But I like the top 20.
Cool. And then one final bet here before we get out of here. Shane Lowry, going back to that fat-sucking asshole that let me down the last time. That's 125 top 20, baby. Let's go to Shane Lowry again. I just been dancing around these guys' top 20s. They're in top 20, bet him at Pebble, almost wins the tournament. He's showing up randomly. This is the week he gets back to track on the top 20 side of things. He's also, Shane Lowry, Kenny, remember I said he's not going to ever win a tournament? Now all of a sudden, Shane's finishing second to Rory at Pebble Beach. What has happened to the golf world that we're part of here? But I digress.
Yeah, I definitely hit that each way live. So that was nice. But yeah, let's get into these tiers. Let's go ahead into this. Let's talk DFS. Let's go into the 10K range. I mean, you got Kawa up to Scheffler. Now, the first question I'm going to ask, since everybody was on Scheffler last week, 85% owned in my double ups, 50% owned in my GPPs last week. And of course, it looked fine until he shit the bed on the back nine. Now, because he hurt so many people, because of how strong Rory is, could this be the week where we see 25% Scotty, under 30%, 25% Scotty? And if it is this the week to go with him instead of Rory and GPPs? Because, the guy plays, he hasn't played this course great, right? In his history, but, he did finish 7th, I think, at the US Open, right?
Yep. And
when
20th
he was here
in 2022.
And, a lot of that was putting. So he felt good putting on these greens, and he could strike the ball well. Is it time, if you're doing a single entry GPP, would it be worth, say Rory's 35% and Scotty's 25%? Would that be enough for you to go Scotty? I think for me it would.
It's a very good question, Kenny, because his game is probably in the worst shape we've seen it for a while now, or at least as untrustworthy as a Scotty Scheffler game.
But counts. It's been one bad round each event.
Yeah,
it's basically what's held him back. That's one bad round. Everything else, he's been fun. And the thing is, he couldn't really hit the ball when he had the hand surgery, so obviously he didn't hit a ball for a month. Right. Yeah. And he came back ready for the Amex and played this past week. Maybe now he's 100% off the rust. I don't know. It's a tough call because Rory's my first cash game cornerstone. The price is too cheap. At $10,900, I think so many people are going to be on him on GPPs. I think it could be worth the risk to go with Scott here instead, or drop down to Morikawa down there at 10,000. Like I said, the guy gains a stroke on the field every round he plays at Torrey South. This guy loves the course. You've talked about his increased, a better iron play and how well he's been putting and chipping. A California guy, right? He sort of fits all the notes. He could be another guy to go with. It's tough. Right now, I have Rory and everything. Right now. Yeah. But it's tempting to maybe jump up to Scheffler in another GPP. If Rory is going to out-own him. Now, if it's close, if it's like 30%, then maybe we stick with Rory. But I don't know. I think if Rory has a substantial ownership advantage over Scotty, this might be the week. This might be the week. I don't know if I'm going to get there, but we shall see. What are you going to do in this 10K range?
Yeah, I like Rory a lot. And the thing is, like, Scotty is priced at half the price in the outright market. If you're looking at popularity or what Vegas thinks. So they thinking there's almost a 2x chance that Scotty wins this over Rory, probability wise. You know what I'm saying? Where that's what Vegas is telling us. Whether or not we believe that right now, that's yet to be seen. So the other two guys, Colin Morikawa's double the price of Rory, and Justin sitting at like 16, 18 to 1. So I think the landing spots elsewhere, Kenny, outside of Scotty, are very soft. Like everyone's going to go to Colin and everyone's going to go to Rory. Yeah. So you could easily see Scotty just getting left alone, especially after a bad performance. So I don't mind him as a contrarian play, and I think he would be my second pick outside of Rory. I think I'm going all in on Rory this week. I think, Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa have not won in forever, King. Yeah. Whereas these other two guys have literally just, like, half the calendar events are belonging to Scotty and Rory, So, and then I don't mind going to Ludwig instead. If people are scared of him, I'll take him as my next guy after Scotty and Rory on top.
Yeah, in the 9K range, I mean, Ludwig and Sungjae seem like GPP plays to me. Sungjae really only had one bad round last week. It was the final round. He really shit the bed. But prior to that, I think when I placed a bet on him, I bet him live at 50 to 1 on Saturday. He was at 8 under. He was about 4 or 5 strokes behind the leader. He ended up parring out the back 9 and, of course, shit the bed on Sunday. So that did not go well. But it was just that one bad Sunday. He's had sort of ups and downs. I don't know if I can get behind GPP's cash games with him, but in the GPP setting, I think, especially with Pendrith going to be so popular, that I think Sungjae could make a nice pivot to him. Because, when you look at his last couple of weeks, they haven't been that strong, but it's only been around here or there. Now, of course, Pendrith is my second cash game cornerstone. I'm going to go ahead and go with him. We spoke about him already. But I like, when it comes to like pivots for Pendrith, Sungjae, Henley, Lowry, those are all options to pivot off of Pendrith that I like this week. Who do you like in the 9K?
Kenny, when you like to pivot, do you like to pivot to a price that's higher, or are you conscious about the price that you're pivoting to? Do you think going to a more expensive option allows you to get even more different than pivoting to a cheaper option? Like,
I don't really think of it
Lowry
that way.
or
it's
Jason
just who
Day.
I like the most. It's who I like the most. If it's above them or below them, I don't really care. At this moment in time, it's probably Henley, who's going to be below him, who I like more, who I like a lot. It would probably be him.
Jason Day, Kenny? Are we completely skipping the 9s? Yeah. Some guy, Sungjae has finished top 6 here, 3 of his last 4 starts. Now, again, more difficult field, but having a touch of course history is not the worst thing in the world. And like you said, he finished your 4th year. That's his best finish in the last little while outside of the Tournament of Champions, where he also played quite nicely. So he's got some high upside in his wheelhouse. And then I think if Ludwig's low owned, Kenny, I'm going back to him again. It's also just the win, man. Like, he got blown off the goddamn course, but he was also sick. I think you just punt Ludwig's performance out. Like, you take the good rounds and just leave the shitty rounds out there because he was sick, right? I think he's good to go. Patrick Cantlay's super interesting to me. Finished 15th at the US Open. He seems like a guy that should play well at this kind of a golf course. Has thrived on California venues, does not play a lot. And last year when he played, he struggled. Finished 56th, and he was just struggling mightily. What do you think of Cantlay this week, Kenny?
I think Cantlay looks like a human trafficker or a serial killer. Like either a serial killer or a human trafficker. Did I ever tell you the story when I think I saw some human trafficking? Have I ever told the story to you guys? Okay, so I was in New York. It's actually funny. I was in New York. I was there for the U.S. Open. I'm actually wearing my U.S. Open hoodie today. It made me think of it. I was there for tennis. I used to go every year to watch the U.S.
Nice.
Open. And we'd stay in Queens. And so one day we were staying at this hotel, and we were in Queens. We were in Chinatown, in Queens, and we went outside and we were smoking a blunt outside of this bar. And so we were smoking a blunt, and like all of a sudden, this like white Lexus, just like Lexus, like LS 400, just like screeches to a halt, and like right next to us, it has like the gold trim Lexus. So it's probably Korean people. Is the first thing that I thought. And so they run into this bar, and they come out of the bar, and they're literally carrying a woman with her arms and her legs. Like, I don't know if she's dead. I don't know if she's passed out. I don't know what's going on. So it's me, my boy Damian, and my lesbian wife Ashley. And we're all out there, we're smoking this blunt. And we're just like, what the fuck is going on? This car just screeches. These guys go into this bar. They pull this girl out, buy her, and she's not moving. I don't know if she's alive or dead. They throw her in the back seat of the car, and they close the car. And before they like go off, the guy looks at me and does the shh noise, right? And then they just drive the fuck off, right? And so we were like, what's going on? This is about 10 years ago, and human trafficking wasn't like as noticeable or as big of a deal like it is now in like news and stuff like that. So like we didn't even think of that. Like we just thought like maybe the girl was drunk and passed out. But like years, years have gone by, and I keep thinking about this story, and I'm like, that could have been human trafficking. I have no idea. So a weird story. When I was in Queens, it was definitely strange. So we just continued smoking the blunt, and then went back to the hotel room.
So that's a no on Cantlay then, Kenny.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It was a Korean guy, so I don't know. But Patrick, I was on.
That's
him
wild. Sorry. Also, that story is super wild, Kenny.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like the guy just came out, threw the girl in the back of the car, and just told me to be quiet, and then rolled the fuck off. So I have no idea what happened. But yeah, Cantlay, I don't know. If I was mass multi-entering, maybe, but I'm not. So he's not going to be on my list.
Since Lindeque is sponsored by human trafficking vehicle Lexus, do we do a human trafficking player with Lindeque?
I guess it's sort of weird. It's sort of weird to name a play the human trafficking play, but no, let's not call it that.
Can we bury some bodies with Decky? Yeah.
Decky, yeah, I can get behind Decky. But he's just, I mean, honestly, I think Decky's probably my favorite golfer. So on the PGA Tour. So it's biased right there. But as of this moment, I don't have him in anything.
Top 3 in the 9K range. Rank them right now. That was a disaster. I have no idea what's going on in this range.
Aberg, Pendrith, Decky probably.
Cool. I like Aberg, Sungjae, and I'm just going to take Cantlay as a wild play. I think he'll be single digits owned with the pricing as widely spread as this. So take a gamble on him. Hopefully that top 15 at the US Open comes to fruition. In the 8s, Kenny, got a lot of 8K names here. Rounded out by Thomas Dietrich at the bottom. Sepp Straka, another winner. The ferocious Bobby Mack, the Win Equity Mack. Tony Finau, the bottom. Rasmus Højgaard. I was hoping he showed up for the Farmers because I feel like this golf course is primed for Rasmus. Jason Day's $8,700. He's played fantastic here. And he's one of the dudes that his iron play has got so damn good. And the putting around these pebble greens and Torrey greens has been atrocious, Kenny. Does it continue or does it bounce back? I mean, if there's any place to bounce back at, it's a third go on these power greens for J Day.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing good golf. I don't hate that play at all. Personally, like I said, I like Russell Henley a lot. I like Russell Henley the most in this 8K range. He's a good putter, iron game strong, really good on long par fours. You're going to see like 7 par fours over 450 yards. When it comes to par 4 efficiency from 450 to 500, Russell Henley's second in this field in the last 24 rounds. Even his short game has been really strong here recently. Top 15 in this field in the last 24 rounds. I really like Russell Henley a lot. Bobby Mack has just been playing sneaky good golf for the longest time. I think he's had like 8 top 25s in his last 10 events. I think 6 of those have been top 15s in his last 10 events. He's playing good golf. Again, really strong around the greens. Above average. I mean, he's been hit or miss from 200 plus, really good from 175 to 200. Tee to green, he's been strong. His iron game has been good. I do like Bobby Mack. Actually, his 200 plus has been very good. He's 19th in his field last 24 rounds from 200 plus and 5th in his field from 175 to 200. Also 10th in strokes gained off the tee in the last 24 rounds in this field. I like the foreign guys. The Euro guys have just been playing good golf. A lot of them. And I like him. I like Straka down here. Again, proven winner, a guy who seems like he can contend, doesn't mind playing against the big boys. And I like Finau. This 8K range is pretty loaded, and I think that's why it's pretty easy to go, Scotty here. Like I had a cash lineup. I think I had like Rory, 4 guys over like $7,800, like 4 of them in the 8K range, 8 to 9K range, and then I went super punt with like a 6K guy. I decided not to go that direction. But that was like one of my first builds, even in cash, because again, this is a no-cut event. You could be slightly more aggressive when it comes to, your bottom plays. Like if you find a punt play at 6K that can get you, Rory and, 3 guys, Rory, Pendrith, 2 other guys in the 8K range. I mean, it could be worth it.
Absolutely. And I think when you're getting to I'm going to rank my guys as Shane Lowry, Tony Finau, Robert McIntyre. Those are my top 3. And when 2 of those guys are $8,200 or less, you have got so much room to spend with because you're below the average salary right away. So it's like very nice in that department. You're always adding to your bankroll as you're going with building lineups with those 2 dudes. In the 7s, Kenny, we haven't even said Will Zalatoris. He was going to be the absolute chalk outline of the Farmers. I think he was going off at 25s, 22s. I think there's a 40-1 out here, and he's $7,900 at a golf course that he's had phenomenal results at, that we all know is a golf course he likes to play good golf at, and solid performance at the Amex. 12th at the Amex, and then 48th at Pebble. Not the greatest venue for him. What are we doing with Willie Z? I think he's going to be the most popular guy in this range, surely.
I like Willie Z. I like Hovland better. I'm having Hovland. He's going to be in my $100 single entry lineup. He's going to be my guy. He might even be my foreign guy in
Slider.
In the Slider Cup. We'll see about that. I don't know if I have the balls enough to do that. I'm still in the top 10, but we'll see how that goes. But I just like him. I like this ball striking. I like the way he played those first couple of rounds the last time we saw him out. And I think if he could just be average around those greens, and it should be easier for him to hit the greens because they should be softer. And he's not short. And so I think at 7,900, 7,800 and 40 to 60 to 1, wherever you could find him, I think that makes it steal. I think we're jumping on that board, Hovland at this price. There's no doubt in my mind. I got my 2 other cash game cornerstones are going to be in this range also. The first is going to be Keegan Bradley, a course history guy, a guy who's won 3 times in the last 2.5 years. winning equity. I think the upside's there. He plays his course well, finished 15th the last time a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going to go back to Keegan Bradley here at 7,700. And I'm like Adam Scott at 7,500.
Yes,
If you look at Adam Scott, he's been playing like pretty damn good golf. Like since like last season, like if you look at his numbers, let me bring this up here. Like when it comes to like top finishes, I think he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 25s in the last 6 events he's played. Maybe I think it's been like 7 of his last 8 events, 7 of his last 9 events or something like that. He's finished inside the top 25. His ball striking's there. His putting is improved dramatically. So I like Adam Scott. So cash game cornerstones this week are going to be Rory at 10,900, Pendrith at 9,000, Keegan at 7,700, and Adam Scott at 7,500. I'm still not completely sure what I'm doing with the other 2 guys. Like I said, I've been up to like Henley and then going to a punt at like 6K, or I was thinking Min Woo and maybe Bhatia down here. I'll have to see where I go with that range. But who else do you like in this upper 7K range?
Kenny, Minwoo Lee is my bet or fish play at $7,800. He's minus 150 for a top 30. Remember last week I told you he's got 17 of his last 20 starts were top 40s. Whatever that is for top 30s, a lot of them were top 30s. Add 1 more to the top 30 for a T12. So I feel like at a golf course like this, he just doesn't seem to get inside the top 10 much. So I'm all good taking him for a top 30 bet, laying juice. I won 2 units off of him last week, going in that avenue, and we've only got 72 people playing this week. So like a top 30 is essentially it's like a made cut.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of it that way, right? So he's going to have that appeal with the tournament as well. So I'm all in on him. Sam Stevens, Kenny, has finished 13th and 2nd here in his 2 of 3 starts, 43rd in the other one. Playing very good golf and $7,600. I think he's going to be popular, but he's playing well, man. He's playing very good golf right now, and I love that he's back on track again at a golf course that he's played fantastic golf at. I'll also be throwing in, if I'm playing a lot of contests, Sahith Theegala. He's going to be low-owned, and he is the perfect
You can't get
GPP.
off that dude, can you?
GPP.
He showed me something in the 3rd round. I got to admit.
That's what I'm saying, is like if he gives you 3 of those kind of rounds at $7,500, there's not a lot of guys in this. Maybe they are. Mark Hubbard maybe, or not. But what I'm getting at you is Sahith, he has that potential in him. And I should never have done a matchup bet with Sahith because he's a boom or bust guy. He's not a safe play. So you got to make sure that you're just playing him in high leverage positions when he's low owned and cheap, which is the situation here. So I'll second Adam Scott. Wyndham Clark, Kenny, $7,300, same situation. Irons were looking dialed in last week and had some iffy here and there situations, but playing some good golf again. And then Davis Thompson. At one point, he was just driving the absolute bejesus out of the golf ball. And I think this week, again, we could expect that from him. Fell off a little bit, but he's $7,000. I think this is a proven winner on the PGA Tour. And like you said, the par 5 scoring for DT has always been pretty darn good. There are some options in the 6s, though, if you wanted to go there.
I do like Bhatia at 7,100 a lot. Again, like when he played here, he made the cut at the U.S. Open. He finished 15th or top 15 here last year, and he played he didn't even gain strokes to the field at the North Course. He lost a stroke to the field on the North Course last year and still finished top 15. His driver looked good for the majority of last week. I think he had 1 round where he struck it sort of poorly. But for the other 3 rounds, he was driving the ball well. I like Bhatia at 7,100. I like Wyndham Clark at 7,300 down here. One guy to keep an eye on. I think it's probably better when we move to Florida. But JT Poston, I watched a lot of him in the featured groups play. And he was, from the eye test, he was really striking the ball very, very well. He's mostly known as a pretty good putter, and his putter's been failing him on the West Coast swing.
Got the yips.
I think when we get back to more familiar grounds for him in Florida, he's somebody to keep an eye on. I think he can win in the Florida event. So let's keep an eye on JT Poston this week. And if he shows any type of life, when we get to Florida, I'm going to be pounding him.
Let's go. JT Poston in the third round last week, Kenny, had the 11th best around the green performance for a single round in the last 20 years. But it wasn't the 11th best because it was the 12th best, because Peter Malnati in the same exact round had an even better performance for the 8th best around the green performance in the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
2 top 11, top 12 performances in the same
I think it was
day.
actually second. I think it was the second best ever in the ShotLink era.
Maybe the ShotLink era. I don't know. It goes back to 2004 on Data Golf. So whatever. Top 10, 2 top 10 performances on the same day in the same metric was kind of wild. Thought I'd just throw that out there before we get into a 6K range that will make Scotty Scheffler in your lineups very appealing. Daniel Berger, Cameron Davis. Let's leave it at that for now. Those are two very nice names.
Those 2 guys are going to be popular. I like Gary. Like I said, I like you talked all that stuff about Gary earlier. He's playing good golf, man. It's $6,600.
Yes.
I like Gary Woodland a lot. Austin Eckroat, again, another guy at $6,500. We know he can win. His long iron play is probably the best in the field in the last, 24 rounds. Probably number 1 in the field from 175 plus is Austin Eckroat. He's another guy I'm looking at. Michael Kim. Playing well, man. I mean,
driving the ball well.
Someone to look at down here. Ben Griffith, Kevin Yu, right?
Yes.
When it comes to Kevin Yu, I mean, stats off the tee, he's strong. Par 5s, he's really good. Above average with his long irons. Tee to green, above average too for a minimum price guy. I like Kevin Yu.
And Jake Knapp, Kenny, not in the field as of earlier today. We don't have a price on him yet.
He might be like first round leader only for me now. The guy sort of just fades. He starts off tournament so strong and then has just faded. I think he might make for a good first round leader bet.
Okay. I will also be rostering him though. He's played really well here in the past. So finished 32nd here last week, and I think he's starting to find his groove again. Made the cut at the Waste Management, 33rd at Pebble since. All good stuff for his price. I think, especially guys that get added after the fact, they're not in a lot of like early models. They're not in a lot of early content. They can go under the radar quite easily with people like Jake Knapp. But because this is such an amazing show, we really appreciate every single one of you that tunes in. So, Kenny, one and dones as we get the hell out of here.
Robbie Henley.
And your slider cup, you're not going to divulge.
I'm not sure for I don't know. Minwoo, maybe. Now, here's the thing about the slider cup. It goes all the way to the Tour Championship. Okay? And then those playoff events are like quadruple points. So I'm probably saving Scotty for that. I don't know if I'm going to save Rory for that. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Decisions will have to be made here. I could go Rory. And Henley because but the thing is, for a Slider Cup, it doesn't take into account money. It's just finishing place, and that's how you get your score.
So it doesn't matter when.
It doesn't really matter, saving a guy for a SIG event because he's going to win you more money, like the Mayo Cup. And so a little different strategy there. So I'm not sure what I'm doing with the foreign guy. But with the U.S. guy, I'm going Henley. I'm going Henley in the slider, and I'm going Henley at Mayo.
What about Jason Day, if you haven't played him already?
I think I've already used Day.
What, here last time?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So I think if you haven't used Day, because he was a very popular play, and he's been the biggest part of the game that's been a problem is the putter. So that can easily flip back and he'll be low owned at a golf course that, I mean, Jesus, this guy's played incredible golf at. So I think he's someone that you can sneakily sneak in there. Otherwise, Ludwig as well. I think he's also going to be a low owned option in the one and dones, I think, given where other people will go. That's just my opinion. You take it for what you want. You can catch me on X at the Model Maniac. Don't forget to use code Mayo when signing up for your underdog for the first time for up to $1,000 deposit match. Hit us a 3-bagger without Cameron Young last week on the underdog slips for round 1. So that was nice. And we'll be doing those again this week. So make sure you follow us on X at the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast on X there. And Kenny, before I tell people that they can get all my stuff at the Patreon, where can they find you?
Yeah, first off, make sure you go to Underdog Fantasy. Go to underdog.com, use promo code Mayo. Get yourself a deposit match bonus up to $1,000. I'll be posting some of that stuff on my X feed. Hasn't been the best start of the year, but when you're doing props, you go through valleys and stuff like that. So the one shitty thing is I did receive my W-9 from Underdog, so I really wasn't looking forward to that. Got to pay taxes, but maybe not. And Trump's president. Trump's the president. Might not have to pay taxes. That would be cool. We'll see. Yeah, and also make sure you go to kickbackgolf.com. Use promo code FGD15. Get yourself 15% off all their cool merch over there. Find me on X at KendoVT. That's where you'll find me. You'll have my final betting card there, all my underdog plays, my live bets, all that stuff on X at KendoVT. Should be a fun week. Signature event, great field, great course for some people. Should be fun. Let's win some motherfucking money. Degen Nation.